Welcome back, everyone, to Be the Trader. I have a very unique episode today. It's not an interview, it's me helping a newer trader. His name's Rodney. He's had been successful in other aspects of his life, like starting a car dealership, selling real estate, and today we're doing a one-on-one, and I'm helping him get his feet wet, get it situated so we can get on the right path. I hope you get some value from this. If you're curious how I'm doing these one-on-ones, click on the bio of my Instagram or my Twitter, or you can actually click on the description of any YouTube video that you could schedule your own one-on-one. I'm happy to help as much as I can, as long as I have time to do it. But without further ado, remind you, please hit that like button because it really helps us grow the channel and we'll do more like this. Thanks.
If you find people that are doing what you want to be doing and they're successful at it and you do what they do, you'll have the same results. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to find people that are successful doing what I want to do. I just don't know how to do it. I've been built up a car lot, a business, and my son's in his mid-20s. He runs it now for me, him and my wife. She actually kind of does the bookwork and office manager. I'm in her office right now. And we bought up, rental properties several years ago and land. And that was a great investment. Turned out to be great. Actually, we sold everything but one rental property, because it was kind of the market started peaking. And I thought, man, I'm never gonna get that kind of money again. Might as well get it. And if I want to, scoop up when the market, crashes one day, then I can. Probably won't, but that was my thoughts. So I've been very blessed with that. Car lot had its best year ever, oddly enough, last year during the pandemic.
Wow.
Yeah. And we're on track to have, maybe top that year this year.
Damn.
Yeah. So it's been phenomenal. We're in Missouri, so it's a red state. We didn't really close down. So I think that kind of helped too. But no, I've always been curious about the stock market and I've always been the kind of guy that I've always wanted to make more money. And I don't work or want to make more money just for the sake of making more money or so I'm not a flashy person at all. I'm very frugal and modest. I think there's wisdom in being a good steward, and what that means for other people might differ for me, but I want to pass on generational wealth, health, and wisdom. I have my son and his wife. We've got grandkids now, so those things are important to me. But I've always been, curious with the stock market. In fact, I got into started watching the stock market many years ago on my phone. I started watching it all the time, and I come up with this idea in my head. I thought, man, couldn't a guy buy a bunch of shares and then sell them when it goes up or down, a few cents? And so I started talking to my banker. We're good buddies. And he said, I don't know. He said, I guess that would be possible. He said, I've invested in the stock market. He said, but I know what you're saying. He said, I just don't know if it's possible. But he set me up with a financial advisor. So this guy comes in and I tell him what I'm thinking. And of course, I don't think he's a bad guy. His agenda was to get me to invest with him. So he's telling me, he said, well, what are you going to do when you buy all those shares and there's no one there to sell them to? He said, that's your problem. And I said, oh, and to me, it made sense. I thought, I didn't think of that. So I thought, well, I guess that was a stupid idea. So when the COVID hit, I kind of started looking into on YouTube for day trading, and I found Warrior Trading, Ross. And so I bought the course. I started with it, and that was horrible. And so some of the things I'm going to say on here, I'm just being really open with you. I'm not trying to bash people. I'm just telling you my experience.
This is your personal opinion. I get it.
But that was horrible. And then
I lost your video there for a second.
Oh, somebody trying to call me. There we are. And then I lost a bunch of money. I had to I put in, I think, 35 grand, got down to 20-ish, had to put in, I put in another 50. I always wanted to stay well above the 25 so I didn't feel that pressure. And then I lost, he had a small cap and a large cap. So I thought, well, maybe the large cap is my thing. So I switched over to the large cap and, lost a bunch of money. And then I'm like, golly, I see people doing it. Why can't I? I mean, so I just kept researching, finding a lot of good stuff on your channel. And then I signed up with, and it's still with them, Investors Underground, Nate.
Okay. Yeah.
And also I also signed up with Jay Trader, couple guys off your thing. And so what I always feel like is I feel like they're great people, great traders, but I always feel like there's a lot more. They just won't sit down and show me.
Yeah.
And so when I try to reach out, no one really wants to speak with me. And that's not, I maybe they're busy. I'm not trying to be, I get their chat room is, there are different goals in that for them, but I just try to reach out to people. And that's why I'm so grateful that took the Zoom call, because I just want to talk to other people that are doing good and show me. Because it's one thing to sit and, I spent all this time watching all these training videos, but it's not, it's just not the information that they're in. Like even today, in one of the trading rooms, the guy said, I'm not going to disclose all my hand. He said, that's just not going to happen. And so you kind of get, I get you're not, whatever information you have is not, we're limited to what we're allowed to get. So anyways, that's where I'm at. I just want to learn some strategies. A couple things that I'm using now is I'm just using the, I'm doing a lot of the small stocks, small caps. So, I'm watching for a lot of just, I find this weird about me, but I see everything in the short. I can short.
Yeah.
And that's about all I can do. But here's what's weird. If I go to long a stock, my risk management is perfect. Because if I get long and it starts falling, I get out real quick. But when I short, for some reason in my head, I just add. And I've made shorting, I made 25,000 a few months ago. I made like $5,000 in 1 month, turn around, lost it, lost 7 the next month. I made 25 grand. I thought, okay, now we're moving, and turn around, lost 35 the next month, and that's kind of been where it's been. And I'm just, but I know this, from being in the business that I've been in the car business and other businesses that we've started, if you find people that are doing what you want to be doing and they're successful at it, and you do what they do, you'll have the same results. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to find people that are successful doing what I want to do. I just don't know how to do it.
I got you. Okay. So you're a short seller is your main focus, no?
Yes.
Okay. And so you gotta explain to me, or if you have a question, just go ahead and shoot me a question. But I was going to ask you, if you can explain to me, what have you found that you gravitate to? Like, what's a short setup to you for you?
So like a parabolic move, as one just starts popping and popping and popping, and I kind of look for that. I'm watching the 1 minute and the 5 minute, and I watch both of them. And then like, if I see that parabolic move, that's what I really gravitate to. And then that blow off. And then,
okay. What do you need to see? What do you mean by blow off?
So the volume just keeps all the volume bars are ramping. And then you kind of get that blow off candle with the long wick.
Okay.
And then you notice, like it just gets slammed down. And then I jump in.
Okay.
And typically, so a couple problems that I know I have is that I'll see the right thing, I get in and I get out real way too quick.
Okay.
I did that today. I traded, let me give you an example, BTPD. I got in today. I was in at like 730 something.
Okay.
And that wasn't a parabolic move, but it had a parabolic move yesterday, and at the close had fell. And then today it kind of ramped up and it started falling. And on the little pop, I got in and I got out at like I think I made 30 cents, which is really good for me. But golly, it ended. I mean, all day long it went down.
Well,
It
what were
ended,
you risking?
I was risking 30 cents, and that's another problem.
Okay.
I know my big problem is my risk management is
Okay.
because and you had a guy on the other day, or I just watched the video, man, and I'm trying to join his Discord, Scott.
Yeah, Scott's a great guy.
And probably out of everybody you've had on the show, I resonate with him. I mean, I just kind of get his thinking,
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to practice a little more smaller size. Like today, I went a lot smaller. I went 500 shares on everything. Usually I'd go 1,500. So, but I was going 500 shares, but I still got to get over this in my head of getting out too quick, because when I was risking 30 cents, I should have been trying to make 60 cents.
Yeah, at the minimum,
Yeah.
and well, here's the other thing. I was looking at that chart real quick. I just pulled it up just to make sure. But if you're getting in at like 7:30, ideally, but why were you risking 30 cents? Like, I want to know why 30 cents. Like, tell me why you were risking 30 cents.
And I'm not. I trade at the house, and I'm up here at I don't know exactly where I got in. I just know but I know where I got in. It was like 2 or 3 minutes, 4 or 5 minutes, maybe into the open. It kind of had that little pop.
Yep.
And so where I was risking high of the day.
Okay. So if you got in at, do you remember your entry?
I don't.
Okay.
I did. I know this. I think I got out at like 7. I don't even remember. Low 7s.
Okay. So I'm trying to figure out, without a chart example, it's hard to really dive deep into that. So it seems like you said at first you're having a little challenge with cutting your profits too soon, right? But then also you mentioned, I think at the beginning, maybe before we start recording even, you said something about not being consistent, right?
Right.
Okay. So why are you risking so much, brother? You know what I'm saying? Like, I know it's not a lot to you. Maybe it's not. But like, even when I heard you say I downsized, I was like, thank God. And then you said 500 shares and I was risking 1,500 shares normally. I'm like, but if you're not consistent, like, why? Like, you should be, like, in all honesty, you should be sizing. There's probably a couple of reasons why you don't stick to a plan, like you don't stick to your profit target, and you might get shaken out. Because like, if you do well on this one setup, like you mentioned in the beginning, where it just squeezes, has a blow off top and then tanks, and you do well on that, I'm assuming you did well on that and you made 25 grand at one point, but then you lost a lot, probably similar to that same setup when it doesn't work, right? And so that to me shows that you're focused on not losing and don't want to lose the money that you're losing, right? So like, money is involved right now where it's really interfering with how you're executing. So I think if you know that's your setup, let's focus on that for now, that setup. If you're focused on there and you get in, let's say it's a blow off top, the top is at 750, right? It blows off, gives you a wick, massive volume to the downside. So you're like, hell yeah, I'm going to get in. It went from like 4 to 750. Like, I love this. And then you want to get in on the pop. You don't want to chase that candle. Like, I would not chase that. But if you're going to do that, let's say you get in at 7, so you're risking 50 cents, then you need to size in accordingly, right? And you need to account for some wiggle room, right? So like, if you're going to get out at 751, you need to account for 760, 765, because in those kind of moves, dude, that they go like you're not getting out of 751. You're not, but you're telling yourself, I'm going to get out of 750. Like, you can, even if you have a hard stop, which you better start having, period. But even with a hard stop, because that's all I use, you will still not, it'll be lucky if you get a 751, 52, 53, but you're accounting for 760, 770. So you're going to size in with that wiggle room, so you're more comfortable to let your trade work. And then at the same time, you're going to have a price target in mind. So before you even press that short button, you know what I'm doing? I'm looking at the stock go from 4 to 5. And then I'm thinking, okay, it's $1. So right now, maybe best case, like best case scenario, it goes back down a dollar, which is unlikely. So there's not good risk reward here if I'm gonna risk 50 cents at this point. If I'm chasing a wick, maybe, or if it drops 25 cents, like best case I make 75. That's like best execution perfectly, which no one is. So and then I see it go up to 6. I'm like, okay, now we got $2 of downside. So I can easily risk 50 cents and be pretty good. Goes to 750. Now I'm thinking, okay, if I can get in at 7, risk 50 cents because there's $3 of downside. There's easily 3-1, right? Easily 3-1's in there, right? There's more than that. What I'm looking for right there in my head is I'm looking for something that is easy, because if I'm going to risk 50 cents, there better be $3, right? $2, right? Because $2 is 4-1. Because at the end of the day, what you don't want to do is just say, oh, there's 50 cents of downside and 50 cents of upside, like to the risk. Because
Right.
at that moment, that's saying, Rodney, I'm a perfect trader and I always nail the top and I always nail the bottom. That never happens. And when it does happen, it's just luck. And so that you got to account for that. And then you also got to be like, you know what? There's only $1 downside. I'm risking 50 cents, 2-1, but that's 2-1 if you are perfect, which you're
Right.
not. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? No one is. And so you need to go ahead and size in and be like, you know what? I may take this because I like the setup still. The odds may be 70%, whatever your odds are for that setup. The odds are really high. So maybe you still take it, but don't take it with your full risk. Like if you're risking, let's just for simplicity, let's say you're risking $1,000 per trade. And then you're like, you know what? There's only 2-1 best case scenario, but I really want to take this trade because there hasn't been one lately and the odds are really high that they work. But since it's not the best risk reward, you know what? I'm going to risk a half of my normal position, period. So that means if I get in at 7 and I'm going to have 50 cents of risk, no, I'm not sizing in for, I'm not sizing in. What is that? 250? What's $1,000 minus, what's 50 cents of risk for $1,000 loss? Do you know? I'm terrible at that without calculating.
What, $1,000 loss,
Yeah.
$500?
Yeah. So 50 cents, $500.
Oh, 50 cents to lose half of 1,000?
No. Like if I'm risking 50 cents, let me just get a calculator because now I'm being just dumb. All right. So if I'm risking 50 cents, that means that's not right. Oh my God, it is 2,000 shares, right? $1,000 divided by 50, 2,000 shares. So you get in 2,000 shares, right? And so, but you're not doing that because instead you're going to account for another 20 cents of wiggle room and 15 cents because we mentioned that you're not getting out at 751. It's just not happening. Sure. So you're actually going to get in less than that, and you may give yourself like 1,500 shares, and you're gonna be like, you know what, I'm in at 1,500 shares, but now I'm very comfortable because I know without a doubt, worst case with slippage, I will lose half an R of my normal loss that I accounted for. And because the odds are high, I'm only willing to risk $500 because the odds are high, but the risk reward isn't there. So you got to start thinking that way as well. But I would even take that trade. Like I would be like, you know what? If it's 3-1, then I take it because then at worst case, I may make 1-1 because maybe I get nervous. Maybe it doesn't work perfect. But if it does work really well, maybe I get 3-1, but at least you make it 2-1. Like there's a lot more in your side. It's like when it comes to
I'm writing some of this down. I apologize.
Yeah, you're fine. When it comes to trading, like it's very like when it comes to people talking about trading, like there's so many things that are not said that I'm thinking about constantly while I'm trading, but it's hard to explain until you have this time, right? So like what I'm thinking about is not only what am I risking, how much wiggle room do I need to give? Because maybe every stock's different. Some stocks you can beat super tight, like 2 cent wiggle room, 5 cent, because it doesn't really just, doesn't really teleport, it doesn't really just like skyrocket. It doesn't just break a level and just go, but some stocks do. So you got to give it a little room. Like AMC, I give it like 50 cents extra wiggle room. So like if I'm risking $41 on my short and I'm in at $40, you best believe I'm sizing in for $1.50. because
Right.
you know what happens? I'm comfortable. So when it goes up to 41, I am nowhere near nervous, because if I get stopped at 41.01, then I'm risking less than I'm fine. If it slips and goes to 41.50, I'm still fine. Now that's one side of your equation, but the other side is you need that room, Rodney, that room.
Sure.
You can actually have a reason to be in a trade and wait and hold for your profit target. And what I would suggest is, if you're when you take a trade, before you take it, brother, like you need to know. Remember how I explained how I'm like thinking while it's moving up, I'm like, okay, now we have $1 downside, now we have $2, because what I'm looking at is where are my price targets. And then as soon as I get my entry, I'm like, all right, I already know exactly where my price targets are, because they've shown me something on the chart where there's no consolidation, so that means it could drop really far, or there's some consolidation, so I'm gonna take some profits at 650 because it consolidated there for 4 or 5 minutes, so I'm
Right.
gonna take a little bit off there, but not everything, so I'll have levels where I take profits, and you got to stick to that. And here's the thing that's going to help you stick to that. I made a video a while back, and it was about like whatever you think you're risking in terms of small size, divide that by
Right.
10.
Right.
And
But
and that number should make you feel like this. It should make you be like I don't want to do, that's a waste of my time. Like, I don't want to do that.
right.
Because if it makes you feel that way, then I'm telling you, you'll grow, because you're not trying to make money right now. You're not. Like, you're trying to be consistent.
Right.
And you can be consistent if you, number one, I would highly suggest you stick with what you're good at right now. Like when you're new, when I first started, if you go back to the beginning of my show, I only traded like a gap and crap. That's all I did. Like for 2020, that's pretty much all I did. Like gap and crap and like an overextension on the chart on the daily, and then short. Like I did those two only. And that made my year, and I was consistent from 2019 November to all of 2020. It was like my first full year of consistency. I was like, oh my gosh, like
That's
finally.
awesome.
And that's
Awesome.
only because I stuck to that one pattern. But here's what that one pattern did. It didn't make me a lot of money. Like it didn't, but it made me consistent, and it built confidence in my strategy. It built confidence in executing a plan, which is everything in trading, bro. Like that's how I became such a diverse trader now, is because like now I trade I'm long, I'm short, because I have more confidence in me. And I think that's a huge separation, that there is no strategy that's going to make you money for the long term as a trader. It's more of what you trade because you're confident in yourself, and what you see is what makes you comfortable. So like, for example, I'm sure the reason you gravitate towards that is because you've seen it so many times that you're like, hey, I know how this, like, I feel good about this. Like
Right.
there's going to be days where over time, you're going to look at stocks and you're going to be like, oh man, I've seen this happen so many times. Why have I not traded it? Like, and then you're going to start slowly dabbling in that, but you don't want to do that yet until you can discipline yourself with one, right? And so
Right.
like with this one, you want to downsize dramatically. So let's just say you're risking $1,000. You need to risk 100, like divided by 10 and risk 100. If you're risking 100, you need to divide by 10 and risk 10. And I'm serious about that, because
Yeah.
if you do that and it makes you feel like this is a waste of time, that's perfect, because you'll still feel some type of emotion. I don't care if you're risking $1. You'll still feel something, because you know you're trying to work on consistency, and you need to work on the process. And so what's going to happen is you pick that strategy, and let's say you start shorting it, the same strategy over and over, and all you want to write down every day, man, write down your mistakes. So like whenever you take a trade, you need to have your plan, write that down, like physically, or type it. I type out all my plans right before I take the trade, but you can write it down too. I just don't like to write personally, but you can write it down. And then once you write down your trade, then you actually execute, put your order out there. I know it, like, because you're going to be so small now, it's not even going to matter to you. But
Right.
what's good, I'm glad it doesn't, because what's going to matter is you're going to start to see what really matters. You're going to be like, you know what? That parabolic is stopping at 750 and it's showing me that wick. I'm just gonna put my order out there right now. I'm risking 750. And then you can sit back and you can watch it work. And if
Okay.
it goes against you completely, it does nothing. If it goes for you completely, it does nothing. But what it does do is when you take a picture of that chart and you take a picture of your executions, and then you write in your journal at the end of that trade exactly everything and how it panned out. Because before you wrote down your plan, and then you write down how it panned out and how you felt during that
Right.
trade. And then you write down lessons of what you learned from that trade. And then what's going to happen is you're actually visualizing a trade work or not work, and you're actually being able to take in the lesson because you're not losing money that matters to you. And on top of that, what's going to happen is if you do this every day, even if you do it for 3 months and you lose for those 3 months, okay? And this is where people don't get this. Even if you lose, but you do it every day, you're going to actually find consistency. And you're like people are like, what the fuck? How? Is because if you're consistent with a process, then you can go back for those 3 months because you're going to be right on some. And you're going to go look at all the ones you were right. And you're going to be like, since I was always following the same process, what was different between the ones I was right and the ones I was wrong? Because I followed the same. So there's something different here. And then you'll see something slap you in the face and be like, oh shit, this is what I need to focus on to eliminate the losses. And then you start growing. And then from there, the reason I said you write down your mistakes and sorry, man, I get on, interrupt me if you have any questions, like at all.
Oh, no, go ahead. No, okay. I love it.
And then I told you, write down your mistakes too every day. And the reason I want you to do that is because like a mistake is as simple as this. Like I told myself, like my risk is 750. Okay. But then all of a sudden I adjusted my risk way too soon to 730 and I got stopped out, faked out, and it never hit 751. So what the hell am I doing? That's a mistake. Write that down. I told myself I was going to risk 750, but I actually didn't. I got stopped out. I wanted to do 761. Write that down. And I want you to track every mistake for every week. And then and every month, and you're going to tally all of them up. So if you write, let's just say you did one mistake of adjusting your risk too soon, right? You write that down. And then let's say you did that 10 times, right? In that month, you tally that up. And then at the end of the month, you're like, okay, I made 10 mistakes of adjusting my risk too soon. How did that affect my trades? You go back and look at all your trades, all the ones that you adjusted your risk too soon. And you're like, damn, like maybe I could have been profitable in every single one of these. Maybe I could have been small green, small break even. And then every month you start making a rule. You're like, okay, this next month, month 2, you do it again. And then you look at your mistakes. Did I make less mistakes than I made last month? If the answer is no, then you need to pump the brakes even more and either downsize some more because you're not sticking to a process, you're not sticking to a plan. And the mistakes is going to help you because the less mistakes you do, that means the more process you are.
Right.
So it's like two things showing you, right? Because without process, you're not going to make it. And if you focus on money, you're definitely not going to make it. So if you do those two things, brother, I can tell you without a shadow of doubt, you'll improve on where you are today. Like there's no doubt in my mind.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So with, as I start doing some of these things, I mean, what are like, I mean, that's pretty much the strategy I know.
Okay.
You know, but is there any other, I guess, where can I learn more? How can I learn more? Or, you know, and I mean, like a lot of and I don't mean anything bad about the chat rooms. But they just, they promise all this education, but they're really just not.
Yeah.
And so I mean, there are a lot of things like I think you explained it great. There are a lot of things that just aren't said. But you know, I mean, like Scott, you had on there, he talked about the support and resistance.
Yep.
You know, and I guess the trend lines.
Yep.
You know, so today with APT, you know, it started making a little bit of a parabolic move, not a complete parabolic, and I seen a bunch of blow off tops, and then I made the trend line, and as soon as it went through, I shorted, and yeah, I made money on it, and again, I got out way too soon.
That's because you're not comfortable. That's all good.
Yeah. But so
and
I got
you
out.
May not have a plan.
Right. I didn't. You know, I I just seen it break and I thought, okay, I know it's going to go down. And again, in my head, I'm risking high of day. But I'm going to start writing everything down. I think that's a big problem for me too, is not tracking everything, because and holding myself to, because when I risk high day, what that typically means is a high day I'm going to add.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so in my head, I think at high day, I'm going to get out. But as soon as it gets to high day, I think, well, gosh, it's fixing to come back down. And then I add, and then I
It
add.
might be because you might. I used to do this because I would probably chase too much. So like if you
Yeah.
chase too much, then you're going to have a lot of eagerness to just add, even though you know you're supposed to stop out. But instead, if you really wait, like that example you just mentioned, it was like blow off tops, and then it had a trend line, and then it finally broke that trend line. You shorted it. Like it's okay to do that, but like at the same time, if that risk is wide, you better like if you're taking a full position, you need to say like, okay, I'm not adding at all, and there better be enough meat on that bone to be worth it. And then at the same time, if there's not, there's so many traders that I've talked to who just see a signal and then they take the trade without ever thinking about risk reward. Like it's an afterthought.
Right.
Like they think they definitely know like, oh, there's a lot of downside, sure, but there's also a lot of upside. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't realize like, oh my God, I'm risking 50 cents and there's only 50 cents of downside. Like there's so many trades I don't take. Like I take a lot of trades every day, but like there's so many trades I don't take because it's just not worth it. It looks great, but the risk reward isn't there, and it's elimination. Like, nah, like it may work. I may come back later and be like, oh man, but I don't care. Like it doesn't matter, because if you focus on something that is kind of mediocre, right? Maybe you see a trend break, right? And maybe it was a great trade, right? But at the same time, what if it's really not? What if it has a not great risk reward? Maybe you make money on it, but that's not the point. If you make money on it and you're like, that's how you judge it was a good trade, then you're not thinking properly. You need to be like, okay, it worked, but I was risking $1 and I made $1. Like I just, and then look around, you might have missed a badass trend break otherwhere that was freaking easy and had like 3-to-1 risk reward minimum. You know what I'm saying? So like, you got to start thinking of like, what is worth your time?
Right.
And your money, because you work hard for your money, dude. Like you just said, like you started a business, you invested in houses, you sold it, like you worked hard for your money. And what you need, and now you want to make your money work hard for you, but you first. The difference between owning a company and trading, the biggest difference, everything else, there's a lot of similarities, a lot. But the biggest difference is learning that pushing and that working harder can really work against you. And whereas in regular jobs and owning a business, like you work harder, you make more calls, like it helps. It can help you but like in trading more could actually hurt you. Like trying to size up too quickly can really hurt you. Trying to trade money when it doesn't make sense to make money right now because you're not consistent. You know what I'm saying? Like trying to push is just not good for you. It should be more focused on, and the other part was, you mentioned something earlier. You said, I want to talk to a trader so I can kind of learn from him. I get that. But at the same time, like, this is so hard to relay to someone. So I'm going to do my best. But it's like, I didn't find consistency. Like at the beginning of my stuff, I paid for all these expensive rooms. I paid for all these courses. I was livid because I was mad personally because I had a great career. I was a partner in the firm and I had good money. So I was able to spend a freak ton of money on all this stuff. And I was not successful because of it. And it wasn't until I left it all, got out of every room. This is me, this is my personal thing. I left out every room and just me and the computer, no questions to anyone else. And I just did me. And you know what happens? You start to trust yourself and you start to trade what you like. And so like when you do that, you start to discover who you are as a trader. And I know that you can learn patterns, I guess, but like, I don't trade patterns. Like, you see things over and over. Like, I know you've said it. Like today, you saw a BTT, and you're like you've seen that before. It's not the first time you've seen a trend line. Like, you've seen those so many times before, and like, but now you're like, I'm gonna try it. So like, if you see something over and over, you don't need someone to tell you that's a good setup, because there's so many times, dude. Like, I talked to Scott today. Me and him traded the same exact stocks today. We didn't talk until just after the close. We traded identical. But there's also days where we jump on a call after the close, and he went long and I went short, and he lost and I won, or vice versa, or we both win. And that's, trading is so unique that it's not a science. Like, it's so artistic that what I see could be completely different from you. And if you let me tell you something otherwise, it could make you F up your own trade. And the best example I can give is when I was part of rooms back in the day. There was a room I was in, and I was like, oh my God, this is the best trade. This is the best setup. I really like it. But before I took it, I asked, hey, what do you think about this? And he goes, I don't really like that. It's too risky. And it freaking skyrocketed. And it had great risk reward. And I was like, you know what I've learned, and like looking back now, I'm realizing that, dude, it's not about the setup. It's not about the pattern. It's about confidence and risk management. So if you can handle, and you know where's a good risk level, and risk level is simple: support, resistance. Extended support is obviously better, right? Not just 2 minutes, but like some extended support. Then you can actually gauge and make a plan. And that's why you just make a plan. And you got to make a plan, though, because if you don't make a plan, then you're not trading, man. You're just
Gambling.
hoping things work. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I talk too
Well,
much. Go ahead.
No, I love it. Well, as you were talking, my mind was thinking that. I thought that very thing. I thought, man, maybe I should just call Alex once a week, and then I can cut out all these rooms and all this material. So let me ask you, if, because I was actually thinking it right before you said that. So I think that kind of just confirmed that's what I'm going to do. But do I just get like a Bazinga, or some good stock alerter, or something I can see? Because I follow, just kind of keep up with what everybody's calling out, and I'll look at the chart. So I guess I probably just need to get a like Bazinga Pro, or
okay. So what do you use right now? What do you use right now for your trading software?
Lightspeed.
I don't know Lightspeed. So is that your execution software for your? Is that, I know Lightspeed is but that's your execution software. You don't use Thinkorswim or anything else with it?
No, I just use Lightspeed.
Okay, so I'm sure Lightspeed has like almost every. I've used Centerpoint.
Oh, they do. I'm sorry, they do.
Yeah,
I'm
sure they have but you know what I use? Like, I literally, it doesn't matter what. I've done this forever. It's simple. Just look at the biggest movers, dude. Just look at the biggest movers every day. You don't need anyone's help. You don't need anyone to tell you this, like, this is a cool stock. Because then you're going to look at it and be like, what the fuck do they see? And then you're going to start, you know what I'm saying? Like, because everyone trades different. And so like, there's guys who've been on my show, and I'm like, I would never trade like them. Like, they're garbage traders, but they're great at what they do. You know what I'm saying? Like, but they're garbage to what I do. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm garbage to what they do. And the garbage is the wrong term, but I'm just trying to get the point across. So like, that like, it's just not for me. And so like, what you need to do is look at every big percent gainer. I'll send you a website. There is a website that you can like pull up, and it shows you every morning the biggest percent gainers pre-market. So that way it's simple for you. It just shows up every morning. I'll send it to you. And yours will have it. So you can, if you don't find yours, and if you do, you can compare it, and you'll be like, oh my God, it's the same thing. So like, when you have that, just look at that and the reason you want to look at that is since you're trading the small caps and you're trading overextension plays and you're trading shorts, like, this is definitely something I'm very familiar with. Like, you just look at those big percent gainers, and then you pull each of those out into your own charts, and you start drawing your own, like, I personally don't use any indicators. You can if you want, it's up to you, but draw your own like resistance levels, right? Draw your own lines, whatever you need to do, and then make plans. Okay. Before the open, like, even if none of the shit happens, just be like, you know what? Ideally, this could go to 7. and maybe don't trade that plan right away. I'm not saying trade those plans. I'm just saying like make
Sure.
thesis, like
Sure.
thesis of what you think could happen, of what would be ideal for you to be interested. And then when the market opens, you already have a couple of stocks, like 5 probably. And then you watch them all. And then as they pan out, you'll be like, you know what? I'm starting to see something here. Then you make an actual plan, then you trade it. But the reason when I make it your thesis as you're a new trader is because then you can go back at the end of the day and go look at all those ones you might have not traded and be like, what happened here? And then you can start to learn how stocks are starting to act. And then here's another thing, they're always like adapt. Well, adapting is so important because the market's always changing. Like right now we're in a market, like when I mean right now, I mean literally today. And I mean yesterday. Like this past couple of days, this just hasn't been very volatile. Like there hasn't
slow.
been, there hasn't been a lot of amazing risk rewards. Like there hasn't been. So I'm adapting, right? Like I'm like, okay, I'm being more picky. I need to sit back more. Like there's times like that. So like when everything's going, then you're like, okay, I need to be even more picky because I don't want to just gunsling and take everything that moves, because then I'm not going to have a plan. So you always got to be picky, but you got to know why you're being picky too. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, so yeah, I think that answers your, I don't know if I even answered your question. Okay.
No, that's perfect. So when you pretty much just use like trend lines and support and resistance. I mean, I do too. I keep VWAP on there, but so that's how you trade?
That's all I use. I use support, resistance, trend line. That's it. I draw everything myself. Some people use things. I don't. I don't even use VWAP because I'm not saying that any of these are. I just don't use them. And but the reason I don't use them, at the end of the day, like they don't help me. I mean, at the end of the day, like the only thing that mattered to me is what does it look like to me on the chart?
Right.
Because there's been times where I wouldn't short something back in the day because it was above VWAP, and I'm like, and I would miss out on amazing plays. But like at the end of the day, that doesn't matter. Like all that matters is the price action and where it stops at, and how what should have happened when it hit something and it didn't happen. Then that could be an amazing signal, right? Like there's all kinds of things like that that I'm thinking. But yeah.
Sure. Perfect. You write a couple things down here.
Yeah, no worries.
So, I'm thinking about switching to Cobra. That's who you promote and use. You use Cobra. So I guess you use Thinkorswim's charts, though. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I love Thinkorswim's charts.
Okay.
I use Cobra through DAS Pro, and I use DAS Pro only for executions, like to execute. And then I like to use their charts only to see my executions. That's it.
Okay.
Because it shows me if I'm being disciplined or not. Because if you can see where you entered and you can see as a chase, and you can obviously see it, so it just helps me like that.
All right, perfect. And then, so what about, so I think I'm going to do that if you don't mind, Alex. I think I'm just going to schedule a call with you once a week go through there and schedule that. And I'm going to try to shut all the noise off for a little bit and go that route. It's weird that I was thinking it and then you said it. So it just kind of makes me feel that that's what I need to do. What, is there anything else that you could, like something you could say, hey, this is a great strategy that I use, or this is
one that I really like that I use that helped me find consistency. The only negative to this strategy, in my opinion, is like I said, I don't really trade strategies anymore, but how I got consistency was this one way. Was any stock, it was just overextension plays that, and now when I say gap down or red, I don't mean, and this is a caveat, like too many people, I don't sell shit. So like at the end of the day, like people who sell stuff, like they got to make it appealing. So they're like, first red day, it's easy. Like first red day doesn't mean necessarily has to be red. I've learned that the hard way. And it doesn't necessarily mean you stop out when it goes green. Okay. Because and it doesn't mean that you need to get in just because it's red. Okay. There's a lot of caveats. Like trading is not as simple as first red day. Trading is not as simple as overextension short. Like it's not. If it was, you wouldn't be talking to me. You know what I'm saying? Like it just wouldn't be. So like but I don't mean to, I'm not saying anyone was negative about that. It's just more complicated than that, right? And
Right.
so when I mean overextension, I don't mean 50%, 100%. All I mean is like, I used to think like this. These are the actual way I used to think. For me to take a trade doesn't mean it's the right way I do now, but how I did it was I was like, if it has to be a minimum for the gap up and crap, for the gap craps, I would be like, if it's not up more than 50%, I'm not even looking at it. Like I'm not even gonna look at it because I learned from my stats that I suck at the ones that were under 50%. So
Right.
anything over 50%, I would at least look at it. And then I would love it, like really love it if it like showed me it topped out pre-market and then faded. That was number two. And then number three, I needed to spike, like, or else I didn't get in. If it didn't spike up near that level of pre-market highs, like somewhere near that level, and show me if there's other levels, sometimes it goes like this. If there's like another level of resistance, then I maybe get in there, but I'm still risking, you know what I'm saying, a high day
Sure.
pre-market, then I would wait for that. Now there were so many times, I'll talk about this on an episode, because I would go a whole 2 weeks no trade, because sometimes they would all gap up, but they never spiked.
Right.
So you have to have real discipline on that. So like, because if you just get in and then it does not spike, then you do what you did and you try to, like you just don't do good. So you got to wait for that. And then if you're going to short that, you need to give yourself some wiggle room. So even though you're risking pre-market highs, you better give yourself some room, because if not, you're going to be in for a heart attack. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
you got to be careful with those. But that really helped me. But I wouldn't cover until end of day. That was my rule. Like, because those would fade. And I would just wait. And the only way I would know that is I would look at the daily, and you notice on the daily that every spike would fade, because you can look at the candle. So I would make sure I only traded those. So there was a lot of things I was looking for, but that's one way that I was trading those.
So I'm going to cut my size way down. So what you're suggesting is like, give myself a whole lot more. I know the risk reward, 2 to 1, 3 to 1 would be ideal, but give it a lot more of a space, instead of
when I say
trying to get out.
space, it's not like this is how trading is not easy, because it's not black and white. Okay.
Sure.
So like when I say space, every stock is different. So
Right.
AMC today, I may give it 50-cent space, but BTT today, maybe I give it no space at all, and I'm getting out as soon as it hits the rip. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because of how it moves. But I'm still going to size in appropriately for extreme measures of like just volatility. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I understand.
So
Yeah.
there is, and this is trading for everyone. I don't care who they are, who's teaching what. There is no black or white. It isn't, and it wasn't until I understood that I started to really start to grow, because I've always been like black and white, like it's either this or it's not, and it's not that way. And it took me a long time to learn that. That's why I lost forever.
Right.
Yeah.
I understand. Well, I've just been looking at it more or less as it's kind of like, well, it's like you said, I know that this has a lot of similarities with the businesses that we've built up, but I do get it. I know that, just like even with this trading, that was my philosophy, is that, I have the time and I'm going to devote, and that's my personality. So when I find something and I want to be good at it or successful, I just devote everything until we're there.
I'm the same way. That's why I left my job 3 times.
Yeah,
it's bad.
Yeah, so I've and that's what I've done. I mean, I've done all, several of the chat rooms. I've bought all kinds of materials, and and I've watched thousands of YouTube stuff, and I just tried my hardest. And then, but as you were talking, I mean, that made sense. I think I just need to really start cutting some stuff out, because I am bad about, especially, and this is I think Nate is an amazing trader. So it's nothing
he's a great
against,
guy.
yeah,
like
Nate
him.
or even Jay, Jay Traders.
Yeah,
But
Jay's cool,
you know,
dude.
and my wife come in the other day, and in my office, and she said, "How do you even focus?" She said, "You got so," and she's right. I mean, now it's all coming to, because I've got Jay over here talking, I've got Nate over here talking, and it's like, but as soon as they say something, I'm immediately trying to figure out how to get in where they got in.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
It's like that's not good. Yeah,
right?
it's like because
Yeah,
you can never find yourself if you're doing
right,
it. You'll never
right,
find yourself. You'll
right.
you'll never do it. And so like, and it's funny you said that because like our wives or our significant others are always like really in tune with just saying stuff like that. And like my wife is the same way. She was like, you should really just, why are you risking so much? You should really down. It took me like the first 2.5 years. She was always like, you should just like risk like $1. And I was like, no, I was like, that's a waste of my time. And then finally I tried risking like nothing and I started to get consistent. And I was like, but I had to get hit in the head and lose thousands of dollars, to do that. Cause
Right.
I was hard headed. And I'm similar to you where it comes to like, I devote myself, I worked my ass off in my job and that made me more money. So I was like, I'm gonna devote myself here and work my ass off. And it did not work. Like it's the opposite. Like do less. Sit at your computer. I want you to sit at your computer tomorrow. And I want you to just literally tell yourself, and I mean tell yourself, be like, you know what, today, before you even open it, be like, there's gonna be, I'm not trading today. I'm just gonna watch the market. It doesn't mean you may not trade. Just say, it has to be beautiful for me to even think about it, but I'm planning no trade. All I want to do is write down plans, write down theses, and watch.
That's good.
And then you'll just sit there and watch, and you'll write down plans, because the first thing you're gonna do is write down plans, because that's your goal. And if you write down a plan, you're like, damn, like this is a really, then maybe take a shot because it's making you do it. But if you're like looking for a trade, you'll find a trade. And
Right.
and it doesn't mean it's a good one. You'll just find something. So
Right.
you just gotta take a step back, man. Because the moment, like that year that I did that and I was trading those two strategies, dude, there was days. I mean, like it was tough because like it really helped me in discipline though. Like there was like a week I made no trades. Then there was a whole month I made like 5 trades, but I was profitable. And so like, but there were days, dude, where I was sitting there every day, made no trades. So like, if you can do that on some strategies are different. Some people have a trade every day. It's like, but I unfortunately had one that didn't do that. So all I'm saying is like, if you can stay disciplined and stick to something, you're going to learn so much from that. It's not about making money. It's not about trading every day. It's about learning about who you are as a trader when you stick to something. And when you stick to that, then you'll start to gain confidence. And then you'll be like, hey, this looks cool. Let me try this. But when you try something, let's say you've learned this and you've grown it, right? Like now you went from $10, $100 to $1,000 per trade. You know what I'm saying? And you've mastered this strategy, right? And then you see this guy over here, and you're like, or this ticker over here, and you're like, I like this way this looks. I've been noticing this ever since I've been trading this. I've been noticing these types. I'm going to try it. If you don't try it with the experience size that you've learned on this, you go back to baby ass size and you try it. But you might grow quicker though, because you're already more experienced, but you still need to learn how to trade that.
Right.
Because if not, you're gonna do what I did. Because I'm just sharing what I made mistakes on. I did really well, and then I was like, oh my god, I'm great, which is bullshit. And I was like, oh, I could trade since I can trade now, right? So then I tried something else, same size that I finally was good at, and just lost my profits. I was winning on my good ones and losing on the new ones, and so therefore I just started getting upset and started maybe like trading my good ones weird, or I would not trade these at all. I'd be like, okay, maybe I'm not good at that. But it wasn't until I traded these, let's say 1,000 risks, and then these $10 risks that I started to actually learn this. I was losing, but it was doing nothing. And then I was like, oh, but I'm learning it. And then I started to size up, and now it took, you know what I'm saying? So you got to take it slow.
Yes.
Take it slow. It's like you don't go from selling cars and then selling pools the exact same way the next day. You know what I'm saying? Like you
Right.
got to start slow. You got to learn how to do that one now. It still sells. It's still a lot, still managing a team, but it's still different.
Right. Well, the way I've been viewing trading too, and I hold firm to this is like when I was sold cars. That's what I started out doing when I was 18 years old. And, I went to a couple seminars and realized, hey, I need to start setting goals, write down goals. So I had this goal of owning a dealership. Well, at that time, I could barely pay the electric bill. So it's like, well, that's never going to happen. But I was hungry enough and knew that, other people, I got the fortunate to meet other people who were in my shoes and now have successful dealerships. So I knew, okay, it can happen. I'm just going to have to do what they've done, and what that entailed is working harder than anybody else for a period of time. That anybody can work hard typically for a day or week, but I mean, work hard for years, and then you'll reap those benefits. And, but when I got, money saved up and things started happening and I was going to open the car lot, everybody said, man, I wouldn't do that. Most businesses fail. I heard, that's all I heard.
Yeah.
Was, golly, you're going to lose your butt. I mean, and then, statistics were thrown at me, kind of like they are in the stock market. 10% of the people is all it makes it, or 2%, or, it's like, well, I don't know where you're getting these numbers, but I mean, there's car lots everywhere, and that's the way I see it in the stock market. It's like, man, I'm seeing people make money, all over the place. So, and the same thing when we started buying rental properties, exact same thing. People told me, you're going to lose your butt. People are going to trash your homes. You're going to, that we are blessed. I understand that, but that never happened.
Yeah.
One time did we have a home that was just trashed, and so those are just, I don't know why people do that, but my point is that, so in the stock market it's the same thing. Everybody's telling hey, everybody fails.
Yep.
Well, okay, I get it, most people do, but I want to be the one who figures out how not to. I want to go and figure out from guys like you, how do I get to that, that next level. So, that's why I'm reaching out and bugging you, and I'm really proactive. I've always been that way. I've tried to bug a lot of people, and most people don't pay me any mind. It's so I appreciate your time.
Yeah, man, just focus. Dude, you're only 50 years old, right? My dad's like 58, 50, 56, and just think like this, man, like process. The reason my show always shows you the beginning, like process over profits, is because like that was the secret for me that really helped me grow. Because, dude, once I start to realize, like, once you learn this, it's not over. Then it's like, then you start to grow it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But
right.
once you learn it and gain confidence, then you can grow it. So like, let's say like it could take you 4 or 5 years. If you're 55 and you're doing it and you're trading well, this would be great, man. Like you don't need to get it at 51, 52, like just put it in perspective and slow down, and you may do it sooner. Like I know there's a trader I'm talking to right now who's blows my mind on how good this young kid is and where he is in like 2 or 3 months of trading. It blows my mind. And he's where I was at in 2.5 years in. And I'm like, but there's some struggles he's dealing with. He's not consistently but he's way further than a lot of people are at 2 months. And I'm like, oh my God, like he knows how to find trades. Like but he struggles with some things like emotions, and those are really hard to deal with. And I got him to downsize dramatically, like, cause he was risking way too much. He had some money saved up, so he was able to go over PDT and stuff. So, but I was like, dude, I don't care if you're over PDT. Like, you need to trade like you have $1,000. Like, that's all you need to trade like. Guys, like, cause once you get this, it will be with you forever. Because once you learn how to trade and not just trade a setup, once you learn how to trade, that's the
Right.
problem. I don't gurus sell setups because that's what gets sales, because it's easy to say this on a tagline like, hey, learn this setup. You know, we win 50-60% of the time on this one setup, and you sign up, you can learn it too and make money. But that, if it was that easy, you'd be fine.
Right.
The
Right.
real way is you got to learn how to trade. You got to learn who you are as a trader. You got to learn how you deal with risk, and you got to learn how to actually set up a plan and follow through with your plan, and know, and then over time you'll gain confidence. And people don't, that's, you can't sell that. How can I sell, you know, like that, that's not sellable. Like, it's not, it sounds literally shit. It sounds terrible.
Right.
So,
Right.
but that's the truth. Like, it wasn't until you start to focus that way that you start to grow. So this tomorrow, don't even sign into anything. Don't just be by yourself. Don't reach out to anybody. Be by yourself, and then hide your P&L, and please don't look at it for at least, like, I would challenge you, but I'd say a minimum a week, but a full month. And
I'll
don't
do a
even
month.
look at your equity for a full month. And then at the end of the month, when you upload your trades, or when you go review, however you do that, and whenever you go look at all your journal, your mistake, everything we talked about, and then you look at that, then you can have, and you'll look at it, you'll be surprised on where it's at. You either be up or down, but you'll be still surprised. But, oh, okay, like, I did really bad. How did I do really bad? Boom. But more times than not, people are normally surprised, like, I didn't do too bad, I did good. When I did it, when I started eliminating it, I actually traded way better because I was no longer judging myself.
Yeah. Well, I know I will, because I'm always looking, you know,
Yeah.
yeah. Man, you don't know how good this has been, just talking out loud with another, you know, guy that's doing good, another trader. I can see now, you know, I've been trying to pay people to, you know, to alert me to good trades and follow. And I've always thought I wasn't following, but man, I know I have. You know, I've been just following really, really bad. Let me ask you this, because I know it's our time's up. Before we leave, just one.
Sure.
So what would you tell me, or what's a good thing for me to do because I am a worker?
Yeah.
What else? So what else can I do to learn to grow as a trader, as far as, you know, so like tonight, you know, I'm going to go home, we're going to barbecue, me and my wife, and you know, I'm going to sit around and read a little bit, and I'm not a TV watcher. I mean, I'm a doer. So,
Yeah.
I mean, what else is there anywhere you could point me to say, hey, these are some good things to?
Have you read Trading in the Zone?
Trading in Zone? I have not.
Oh, then we don't need to talk anymore. You just read that and you're going to thank me. You're going to
Trading
thank
in the Zone
me. By Mark
Perfect.
Douglas.
Mark Douglas.
Phenomenal. Probably one of the best books I've ever
Oh,
read.
actually, I've heard you talk about that
Yeah.
now. Okay.
It's great. And then another one, which has nothing to do with trading, but it's a really good book that I really enjoy. Maybe you'll enjoy it. It's called The Alchemist. And those two, because The Alchemist is so relatable for me in trading that I think it could be good for you too. So I think if you check it out.
Who's the author? Do you know?
I don't know
That's
that
okay.
one.
There's only one book called Alchemist.
Yeah, and it's like an orange cover, I believe.
Okay.
If you can't find it, just let me know and I can send it to you. But if you just click on the link of any of my videos on my descriptions, I have a section where this is all the books I've read, and you click there, those are all in there.
Perfect. Perfect. Man, Alex, you're awesome, brother. I appreciate you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you.